One of the main reasons that those campaigns still exist, right, is this desire for 1P data, right? If I get a shopper to my owned site, I get their data. But that's an overinflated value on that data because you're basically sacrificing a conversion of your product for an email address, right? And like, which is more valuable? Like, if you get the conversion, you get them to love your product, love your brand through using your product and experiencing the brand. That's going to be a much longer lifetime value than the marketing and the nurturing and all the additional costs that has to go into converting that customer who you took to a brand site instead of just giving them to Amazon, who knows how to convert. And that's another, again, kind of reframing that needs to really start to happen in order for this more advanced strategy to kind of take hold.
Hello, and welcome back to the Commerce Collective podcast brought to you by Flywheel. I am your host, Emma Irwin, a brand marketing manager here at Flywheel, and today we're talking all about connecting your offsite advertising efforts to your retail transaction data with the help of Amped. There's a lot to uncover here, so I might as well get right into it and introduce our guest.
I'm Megan Harbold. I am the VP of Marketing and Strategy at a little company called Amped. Basically, what I do is anything and everything go to market, from defining our market fit, our commercial packaging, getting market feedback, all the way down into true execution of content, events, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And I love that because that means that in order to have that role, you have to thoroughly understand what your company does and what you sell.
Yes. I am literally helping everyone know the right verbiage of how to say what we do. And honestly, it is still work in progress. So don't hold me to everything I say. No, I'm just kidding. It'll be great.
Now that we know Megan a bit better, it's time to learn more about what Amped has built and is continuing to build.
So Amped, essentially, I'll start with kind of like our mission, right? We are really looking to try and unlock the full potential of digital commerce. That's a big, lofty mission. We really want to go about this by essentially focusing on how we can remove assumptions and really empower marketers with actual data. So how this really is translating into our technology is essentially we are connecting offsite channels like Google and Meta directly into retailers like Amazon and Walmart. And we're essentially building bi-directional data flow so that you are smarter in your marketing and your strategy, as well as have the data that you need to actually take action to make meaningful optimizations in that offsite media.
I love it. I love anytime we can talk about removing assumptions, and I love that phrasing of it. Before we really dig in here, I, of course, like everyone else on the show, have to ask you, what is the last thing that you purchased online?
You know, I was thinking about this, and honestly, the last thing I bought was a magnetic screen door. Up here in Seattle, the weather is getting nice, which means all the doors and windows are open. And I have a giant Great Dane who loves to just get the zoomies and run in and out of the house. And so I go through these magnetic screen doors like every month to 2 months in the spring and summer. So I just ordered in bulk a whole bunch of magnetic screen doors. So
incredible. Is it the one that kind of like it closes in the middle and
right,
so like your dog can run through it and just break it open? Amazing.
It's the best invention, I think, for a household item I've seen in a long time.
All right. The structure of this episode will go as such. First, we're covering all of the industry challenges that led to the need for Amp to build their solution, because I love understanding all of the moving pieces that have shaped how things work today before digging into how different companies are trying to solve for these challenges. After that, we'll get into the technical elements of how Amp's platform is unlocking measurable performance from Google and Meta to sales on retailer.com. First up, I asked Megan to start with explaining what the challenges are that have led to brands and marketers having to make all of these assumptions about connecting offsite to retail.
Yeah, so we look at it in two different ways. Firstly, from the shopper's perspective and the kind of challenges that are felt by them. And then secondly, what the marketers are doing and or could be doing about it. So if you think about a shopper, especially today's shopper, where expectations and a consolidation of time in terms of awareness to ready to buy is happening, let alone they want to engage and shop from absolutely anywhere. So you've got the invention of social commerce, and you've got kind of more and more buyable media coming to market for marketers to use. This is making kind of that expectation of the shopper of, I'm ready to buy from where I want to buy, one like ASAP. Marketer strategy hasn't really kind of caught up to being able to decipher who is in that mode and who isn't, right? So you've got kind of social commerce ads that take care of that impulse buy, ready to buy in a matter of seconds. That's great. You've got kind of the higher kind of shopper who is, I'm still exploring, I'm still researching, I want to learn more and engage more with your brand. That's going to be more of what we used to think of as awareness and consideration for the marketer. But then you have this middle cohort of shoppers who are truly high intent on buying. They know they want to buy from a retailer that they love and trust, but they're not given the opportunity to do that. So Amped really kind of saw this gap, this shopper's dilemma, if you will, and we tried to figure out why are marketers just kind of ignoring or not listening to what the shoppers are telling them they want. And the main reason comes back to the data, right? They can't do that confidently. They can't do that in a way that fits the organizational structures that they currently have, right? You've got traditional brand budgets and teams. You've got less traditional retail media and e-com teams. And how do they overlap in a channel like Meta or Google that maybe was more traditionally seen as upper funnel or all about awareness driving and clicks and conversions? Getting people in an organization, getting marketers to kind of have a mindset shift that these channels can truly be commerce oriented has been a struggle. So Amped is basically coming to market with a product that brings those retailer commerce focused data points into the marketers' hands who run Google and Meta, so that everybody can hopefully go towards the same commerce marketing strategy and the same goals.
You mentioned this one aspect of these shoppers that are in this middle ground and they can't make the purchase from like the trusted retailer that they want to. And that, I think that's how you phrased it. But I'm curious, like, why can't they? I'm on Facebook, I see an ad and like the ad doesn't send me straight to Amazon where I want to make the purchase. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, I would love to. I think these alternatives are really important to also help highlight why Amped is different. So, if we think about this middle of the funnel cohort, these high intent shoppers, they're getting a few different alternatives thrown at them. One, they're getting no call to action whatsoever, no shopping opportunity, right? I'm just seeing that awareness ad, or I'm just being taken to a brand experience that has no clear path for me to actually then go purchase. In that instance, as a shopper, I'm probably just either not going to buy anything, or I'm going to keep looking until I find a shopping experience that may be your competitors, right? The other alternative is they're taken directly to a shoppable direct-to-consumer site. Not a bad, option, assuming you have the brand loyalty or the great experience to get a brand new customer to want to give all of their personal information, credit card information, create an account, want to have to deal with all the marketing that's going to come by them giving you their personal information. That happens, but that happens at a much lower rate than the conversion of Amazon, for example. So again, proof that shoppers really ultimately want to purchase from where they know and love and have great expectation of what the experience will be. Another alternative is using what's called like a where to buy interstitial. So if you think about software that you click on an ad, it brings up a kind of intermediate experience where the shopper is expected to pick a retailer to then go and purchase. Again, not a terrible solution, but not necessary anymore. And that extra click friction leads to, again, a severe drop in performance of that ad, let alone, obviously, the data gaps that exist, because once that interstitial is clicked on, there is no more data coming back to the publisher. So again, from making a lot of assumptions, you're assuming once they click on that ad to that retailer, they're converting. They may or may not. You don't know. And then finally, the other alternative is a brand is doing this today, right? They have an ad, they're taking their shopper directly to Amazon. But again, they've lost the data. They've lost the actual confidence in how that's performing and being able to relay that back to their organization of what their marketing dollars ultimately were able to deliver.
What are the metrics that are actually missing between offsite and retail? Or like, if they're there, why are they not as good as they could be?
So this is all about the data, right? And I think what data is a very important question, because depending on where you are as a marketer and your organization's maturity around strategy, you need different data for different objectives. You've got the tried and true revenue conversion, ROAS, right? That is informed by what's happening at retailer. But then you have these more advanced metrics, new to brand ROAS, annualized revenue, organic halo effect, like these bigger, more intricate KPIs that only exist at the retailer, but are so critically important for an organization to define things like incrementality, lifetime value, or again, like overall halo impact of my media. We're not necessarily defining incrementality, halo effect. We're giving you the KPIs and the data points that you need so that you can build that into your strategy and your overarching formula. Because as you read up on these topics, right, like every organization really should be defining these for themselves. There's not going to be a clear standardization. So we want to, again, arm you with the true deterministic data points that you can then use to build that out. But also, because we're giving them to you in these near real-time deterministic points of view, we're basically giving them to you in an actionable way. So new to brand is highly actionable. When you think about, I want to optimize at a campaign level, ads that are working to drive only new to brand to Amazon. That's super, super powerful. And again, gets you out of that mindset of, okay, I'm optimizing my Google text ad for clicks. Like, we've moved on. So, and that's what we're here to help you move on to do.
What was the blocker? Like the actual physical, or it's not physical, all of this is digital, but like what is the actual blocker that has been blocking connecting those dots between offsite media and retail?
I think firstly, it's the publishers and the retailers themselves, right? They are walled gardens through and through. That means there are walls that they do not want to tear down for good reason. And I don't think there's really going to be a world where all of those walls come down at scale and just give marketers anything and everything they want and need. Same, not even just to go into the complexities of the privacy and the security that would cause, but also like you've got, again, a lack of standardization. You've got how these various algorithms work differently. Like there is no real apples to apples across every single metric for every single retailer and every single publisher. That's where partners like us exist. We can help make that translation occur. And with advancements in things like clean room technology, aka if you think of AMPT in that way, like we are able to, in a secure way, bring all of that information together for that marketer. But I'd say the other real key inhibitor, besides the retailers just sharing the information, is the marketers' organizations themselves. And I kind of alluded to this a little earlier, but this kind of traditional siloed approach of brand versus shopper versus e-com, all having very different goals, all having their own dedicated budgets, even maybe holistically owning specific publishers because of an older way of looking at what those publishers can actually deliver on. And with that comes a lot of emotion that these poor marketers have to deal with, right? Like if I'm owning the Amazon account and my job is to get more sales on Amazon, I have to go ask a brand owner for money for Meta so that I can get more sales on Amazon. And they're like, no, why would I share my money? I have to get more sales on D2C. Like there's just a misaligned from top down goal setting, understanding of the value. And again, the ability to measure truly the long-term impact of getting that sale sooner from an Amazon versus the length of time it takes to get that sale on D2C. Which is more important to your organization? Are you truly measuring and truly understanding the incrementality of all these various touch points? Then you can make that decision of how these budgets need to flow and get the emotion out of it and get these kind of stale, stagnant silos out of the way so that you can take advantage of partnerships like ours.
Boom. Mic drop.
Exactly.
Say it how it is. Okay. We have left no scraps from digging into the challenges that have existed when it comes to connecting offsite to retail. Now we get to move on to AMP's product and solution itself, so I asked Megan to restate her one-liner from the beginning on who AMP is and how the audience should be thinking about AMP within the market.
Yeah, I think you could probably glean it from all of the conversation so far, but maybe another way to just like super simplify how to think of us is think of us as that clean room that sits between a offsite publisher and a retailer. We are bringing that data together for you to then use on either side. really our focus is kind of not just bringing that measurement to you, but again, where we add a lot of extra value is in the activation piece. Your data is really only as good as its proximity to activation, in my opinion. And I think this type of data becomes super, super actionable on the Google, on the Meta, on the TikTok side, because it helps make those offsite channels commerce oriented. So we are essentially kind of a clean room that gives you the data you need. We have a platform that helps you activate with that data, automate optimization, or again, just kind of highlight to you the analyses, the insights that you need to make bigger strategy decisions. We also offer, again, kind of like very easy automated one-click setups. If you think about Meta and the ads that you have kind of coming from an app going into an Amazon experience, you want them to go directly into an Amazon app experience where the shopper is already logged in. That's called deep linking. We offer one-click setup for deep linking. So again, we're really truly bringing the optimal shopper purchase to your fingertips as the marketer and the confidence you need to just scale it and activate on that across publishers, across retailers.
And at like essentially like the user level, how are you connecting the data points between the two? Is that a customer ID of sorts? That's the only term I know how to throw into this mix. But what is actually helping connect these via the clean room?
Yeah, it's a great question. I will stress we do not take in or use any kind of PII. So it's not like customer ID level. It's not transactional level. We are essentially connecting product revenue, order revenue to a creative campaign ad set level. How we do that and how we do that well in our algorithms, et cetera, I'm going to leave for secret sauce, but it's not audience oriented. It's very product driven and connecting product and campaign essentially.
That makes sense. And I can even imagine like when you have more of that product level insight, you can then take that data and look at your retailer level data and kind of use that to inform more of okay, this product is really good at driving new to brand in this way. How do I then activate within the full like Amazon ecosystem as well? And the data goes both ways in terms of informing you. Okay, my next question. That makes sense. I've got a grasp on how it's all connected. What do I then do with this data? Can you walk me through some examples of like actually activating the data? What does activation look like?
Yeah, I'll use some examples from some recent case studies that we are either just launched or will be launching here shortly, just to give you some ideas of the use cases, and happy to go deeper on any of these. I'll just kind of surface level when you ask me away. Let's use the first one. So going from Meta to Amazon as an example. This is a large beverage company. They were very focused on like D2C space. They still very much are, but they immediately recognized the value of kind of, again, shoppers are approving with their wallet. They want to go to Amazon, and they saw that kind of growth in the scale and they wanted to double down. What was really interesting about this case is the data that we were able to provide them, again, commerce-oriented data around new to brand conversion, even just kind of, again, like just revenue growth in general. They were able to translate that back to the creative level and use it as a mechanism to essentially A/B test creatives for commerce goals. So again, now this company had the power to basically say, creative A or creative B, which is actually truly going to drive new people into my category, and answer that question and then optimize their ads around the answer. And this is something that, again, in Meta in particular, right, your marketing strategy is only as good as the creative experiences you're creating. So the creative themselves is your lifeblood on that channel. If you don't have good creative, of course, you're not going to see good success. But what does good mean? And that's where they chose to decide good equals commerce impact. And it gave them the direction, the light that they needed to double down and like get really, really incredible results. Some of their highest performing creatives, 15x ROAS, like what they were doing before, which is, again, pretty sizable for a very large company.
You know what's better than one case study? 2 case studies. I asked Megan to talk through one more to just really drive home what kind of results Amped is driving and how.
This is a great case study we just released for 7th Generation, a Unilever brand. They were already doing the Google to Amazon path to purchase, but they just weren't doing it with Amped, right? And so they lacked that intelligence to decide how to, in the day-to-day, make their optimizations and really get the improvements that they were looking for. And so just by simply, again, basically a one-click setup had all of their campaigns flowing through us, bringing them back the data, they were able to, within literally 3 months, get 208% conversion rate improvement, 228% ROAS improvement. And that's with over 2/3 of that traffic we were driving being new to brand. So that's with new audiences seeing those performance rates. Super meaningful. And again, to a category that's very, very stale, if you will, very, very full of competitors and not a lot of market share to be had. This is how you raise the ceiling on your category share. And this is a great kind of case study to prove that.
I love it. Okay, my last question for you, just because it feels like a timely topic with everything that we've seen, especially when it comes to like AI. And there's this narrative that like Google search is dying and the publisher, is getting hit by Amazon in every direction. Does that signal anything broader for the aspect of connecting that offsite media to retail? Like, obviously Google and Meta will never go away, but like, is that any kind of risk?
I love it. I love the question. It's extremely important one to ask. And like you said, I 100% agree. Like, they're never going to go away, especially for a marketer, because the shopper's never going to stop using them. If the shopper goes away from them, sure, marketers no longer need to care. Like, everything becomes completely obsolete. But really, this is driven by the shopper's behavior. And so the outside pressures that I see are more publishers. A new TikTok comes to light, right? Like, that innovation could change where the dollars go. And again, there's that fluctuation that we need to kind of start to think about. Again, to stop spending entirely on Google or Meta, probably not in the near future. What I think is more likely is, again, the innovation in how we engage with the shopper on these platforms. AI, Gen AI in particular, right? Like, that whole kind of tweak of, it's not just going after a singular kind of keyword. You're going to have to start thinking more conversationally about what this search intent looks like, getting a bit more into the shopper's headspace of what they're thinking and what they're looking for, and then tweaking how you target based on that. The publishers are going to innovate on giving you the tools to do that. You need to innovate in what data you gather so that you can be smarter about doing that. But ultimately, there's going to be a place for capturing these high intent shoppers offsite, always. If you think about, I think you had mentioned, or you might want to mention probably because it's on everybody's mind, this kind of concept of, Amazon essentially doing the buy for me thing, right? Like, they are trying to bring retail media outside of retail media, more or less. There's significantly good intel about like why they're doing that, right? Like, there's really kind of aligns to everything that we've talked about today, right? They're meeting the shopper where they are, giving them that most optimal path to purchase with a retailer they know, they love, etc. I am all for this. I think what's interesting to me is how this could and or would evolve with, like, again, brand dollars and D2C sites, and how the targeting will go there versus, and also the cost of this, right? Like, this doesn't come for free. Your cheapest, easiest currently, and for probably the next year, line of sight to getting a shopper into retailer is going to be that off-site media. It's the cheapest cost per click you're going to get outside of going upper funnel within the retail media world, or even like compared to some on-site costs. Like, these are very efficient dollars that you can be spending to capture an audience that's truly already there. And I don't think that audience is ever going to go away. It's just how you target them and or the mechanisms by which you are given to target them.
Amazing. Okay. That is everything content-wise that I have for you. I'm going to wrap us up with one random question that I didn't put in the doc, but something that lives on your digital wish list. So it's not the magnetic screen door, because you're willing to purchase that for the sake of your dog and the bugs. Something digital wish list. So like, it just has lived in a cart forever, app or computer, and you just haven't purchased it. And then I'll ask why.
Okay. The first thing that came to mind is literally at the very bottom of my wish list, or my saved in cart, because it's been there for years and years and years. Do you remember when Amazon came out with the like uncommon finds or whatever page? It was like rare, interesting things you might like. It was like a whole page that they curate for you. Yeah. I have that bookmarked, and every once in a while I still go in there and I like add random stuff to my cart. There's this nightlight. It's just like a little fat duck laying on its side with I don't know, it's just like a light that looks like a fat duck sleeping. I don't know why. I want one so bad, but I'm like, I cannot justify spending $40 on a light that I don't need, that looks so silly and everyone's going to make fun of me for.
I love it. If it makes you feel any better, I have a Miffy nightlight that I did in fact spend $40 on that lives in my bathroom.
You're inspiring me to go buy this now. Maybe I'm going to do that as a call
It
to
doesn't
action
matter
from
what
this.
other people think, okay? I want a Miffy nightlight.
I love it.
And that wraps up another episode of the Commerce Collective podcast. I hope your main takeaway from this episode is that every adult should have a children's cartoon character nightlight in their bathroom. I'm just kidding. Sort of. Hopefully you've got a solid foundation of understanding how AMP is connecting the measurement dots between offsite and retail like never before. Thank you to Megan for the time and insights. I've been your host, Emma Irwin, and I will see you next time.